Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the AI InterConnect podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, and today's guest is someone who is shaping the future of cybersecurity with a mix of AI innovation, quantum resilience, and a real world impact. I'm joined by Cara Wolf, CEO of Ammolite Security, a company selected for the NATO innovation continuum and known for its work in advanced security or cybersecurity system for regulated industries, critical infrastructure, and high security environments. Cara, thanks for joining me and very happy to have you on the show.
And thanks for having me. Very nice to be here.
Very, very cool. And I have been looking forward to this conversation. You are building at the intersection of AI, cybersecurity, compliance, and no quantum resilience. Let's start with your journey. Kara, take me back a bit. What set you on a path to founding Ammolite Security? What problem did you see that other was not were ignoring, basically?
Well, we really focused on cybersecurity in the intersection of artificial intelligence and quantum about 8 years ago, before a lot of the ransomware attacks had the prevalence that they do today. So just as they were starting to come in more severity and more sophistication, I had a partner that was in the Canadian Armed Forces and wanted to transition into civilian life. So we came up with some ideas of areas where we could provide maximum impact in terms of providing real world security tools, data centers, AI data centers, teaching and training veterans to come into civilian life, and then upskilling and reskilling our current IT workforce. So that really was the genesis. We saw a big gap in the marketplace and a way that private industry could play in a way that the government doesn't provide services for. So there's law enforcement, and then we would be adjacent to the criminal investigations that belongs in the law enforcement realm.
Okay. Wow. That's very cool. This is all new for me, but okay. Then your background blends engineering, cybersecurity, leadership, and policy experience. When when you look back, which early experiences shaped you the way you now lead Amolite?
I think it has a lot to do with getting my master's degree in finance from the Haskell School of Business. I think that transformed and shaped the way I see the world and the way I see business. And businesses are very similar, just the industries and sectors are very different, but you're focused on sustainable profit in a way that causes positive impact and not negative. So in an environmentally and humane way to grow companies. And so having a generalist background and foundation in finance at the master's level and entrepreneurship as well. I have a double master's, really changed how I run businesses and how I look at starting them. And just my great passion for business flows from that education.
Yeah, that's great. Lately, we don't see any people saying, "Oh, I'm so happy I did this." I mean, I studied that. In the current environment in the US, university are not very, but it's, I love it. I love it. It's cool. Okay, for people discovering Amolite for the first time, how do you describe what you do in a simple way?
We provide assistance to people that need a higher level of security. We're a people first business.
Okay. you but you are not only providing cybersecurity consulting, you are building AI powered and quantum resilient systems.
That's right.
That's a big name. What does that mean in practice for the companies you work with?
Yeah, and I know that's a mouthful, right? In layman's terms, we provide secure communication systems. So we're looking for ways to overcome eavesdropping, hacking, jamming. And so we're developing tools that combat that malware on an automated level. Is that layman's terms enough?
Yeah, lemons enough.
not a lot of people understand quantum, and quantum is a different type of computing. So maybe just a general education and why it's important, because you have two kinds. You have classical, which is what we're using now, and then you have quantum, which hasn't quite been invented yet. So that's kind of a big race to get the first, error corrected quantum hardware and software. So that's where all the companies are going. The reason they're going is because the promise of quantum computing can do a lot of good for a lot of things. So that it's very good for health and mapping different molecules and different chemical formulas. And it also can be used for very bad things, because using a quantum computer can crack Shor's algorithm. Shor's algorithm will be used to crack all of the encryption that we use today. So basically rendering all of our systems vulnerable to stealing our data or extorting our data. So it's a big deal. And so they say Y2K way back in the day when all the computers were going to change. They're calling it Y2Q, so years to quantum, or so it'll be a huge shift. So now we're moving things into quantum resiliency. So we're trying to protect things in the future from a potential quantum attack. So that's where the word quantum resilient comes from. There's no such thing as quantum safe. That doesn't exist. So we use the proper marketing term for what it is. It makes it harder using some of the cryptography that we're using in our secure communications.
Okay. Almost makes sense. I mean, it makes sense.
Well,
You work,
I hope it
yeah,
does without getting.
yeah, no, of course. For the audience, it will. You work across regulated sectors: defense, critical infrastructure, transportation, finance. What are the biggest impacts you see when companies try to modernize their security or compliance programs?
Well, there's a number of issues, because there's always an issue of budget. There's always, you've got to balance, like, how much security do we really need? So understanding what you're protecting, and a lot of organizations really don't, especially the larger ones. So getting a really solid inventory of what they have, what they need, and the level of security required, because different regulated industries have different levels of requirements. So defense being much, much higher than, say, a bakery on Main Street. So there's like different types of organizations need different levels of security. And then you've got to balance what's required by law and what's coming by law. So what is your legal, and then your legal requirement, and then how much are you going to invest in fortifying your security? So that's going to be determined on the business and the health of the business. Are you going to get a loan to pay for it? Are you paying for it out of profit? Is it coming out of revenue? Is your business healthy? Because if you're not healthy, then you have a different kind of problem. So it's a balancing act, and it's getting everybody around the table to agree on what is necessary and what's the budget and what's the continuing budget, because now there has to be a budget. It's not an optional thing. It really involves a full table of experts to weigh in. It's not just your chief information security officer. It's just not your IT guy, I have a guy, or your IT manager. It's the whole senior level of the organization and the board. It's the board's responsibility to provide the direction of the level of security and level of risk that the organization is willing to take.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love it. I love it. And one of the recent milestone for Ammolite was your selection to NATO Innovation Continuum. What was that experience like for you?
It was fantastic. It was really, I can't describe the energy. The energy was incredible. We had the best minds come together to solve common problems, different companies, different technologies, and different countries. And it really just was a wonderful meeting of the minds in the most creative and innovative ways. Work on, defending our warfighters and using technology in a way that protects us. And we just had this wonderful experience. We worked with 5 different countries, 5 different technologies. We built an experiment to demonstrate the efficacy of our products and how we contribute. We met a lot of very important people that are involved with NATO and bringing innovation to the battlefield. So just incredibly smart people working for the common good. And I just can't speak highly enough of our time. And I'm looking forward to, the next year's event, because that'll be hosted in Canada, in Halifax. So it's proud to represent there. It was a really wonderful experience.
Wow. Yeah, I'm impressed. It must be unbelievable. You also collaborated with Mintex on secure mobile communications, and you showcased that at NATO as well. What was the core idea behind that project?
I can't speak highly enough of Mintex. So Mintex is a great company in Calgary. So we share the same hometown, and they are extremely innovative and very bright. And when I brought the opportunity to them, I said, "Hey, you've got this great technology. I think it would be a wonderful fit for the innovation continuum. What do you think? You want to come?" And they were ecstatic. They were like, "Yeah, this is great." And yeah, so we came together. They have their own operating system, their own phones, their own mobile communication unit. So it can be used in the field. It can be used in a small group of people or a larger group where you need your own secure communications and your own network. You're not reliant on the internet. You can just connect, or you can use existing. So you can do both. And as we were preparing for the innovation continuum, Jeff, the CEO, was adapting and creating more layers of security. And actually, that's where the quantum resilient came, because he added PQC, which is post quantum cryptography, to the product, to the software. So came out with a much stronger and better product. We represented Canada very well. We made a lot of friends, and it was great. They're really great partners to have. Very professional.
Beautiful. The secure mobile stack seems powerful for high security teams. Could this also apply to commercial sectors like property management teams, building inspectors, or field ops?
Of course. Yeah, anywhere. It doesn't have to just be in defense. And so commercial is actually where we came from. So we're using it. So directors, say, like, board of directors, and they only can talk to each other, or senior management, where they have, or even a secure phone. So if you've got part of your emergency security plan, you've got a backup phone system in case your phones go down, you've got another one, and only you can hear. So, WhatsApp, Signal, Telegraph, Telegram, sorry, they're all insecure. So this is a truly secure unit and system, and it also can be customized. So if you have specific corporate needs and you need specific apps on it, Mintex can custom code all of the apps on there that's required. So it really strips down the phone of most of the entry points, and then has the ones that you need. So it truly doesn't allow traditional forms of malware to get into the system.
Our audience include PropTech funders, real estate operators, and a compliance team. You are operating at a level of security usually reserved for national organization. How do you think advanced cybersecurity should translate to PropTech?
I think advanced cybersecurity is very important to PropTech because of the nature of and level of the potential intrusion points. Because you've got both physical and digital security, and now in PropTech, it's kind of one and the same. Can you forge things? Can you take data out of the cameras? Can you infiltrate that way? Can you infiltrate through your card keys? How do you keep your property secure and also maintain the privacy of the people that are residing in it? So there's kind of there's that measure too, because you don't want that big brother effect on everything as well. Like, that's a little creepy. So how do you balance advanced security with privacy in a way that works for everybody? And I think that we're going to get into more questions about ethics, about privacy. Those issues are going to come, I think, more and more to the forefront, because we have the technology now, and we can use it. And there's always users of good for good intentions. And where there's good intentions, there's always bad intentions, and you always have those bad actors. Where's that balance, and how do you leverage automation in a way that satisfies the required need for security, and then also balances ethics and privacy for the people that are within the perimeter of that security?
Yeah, well, definitely. And more real estate company now store tenant data, financial record, access control logs, IoT building sensor data. Which of these create the highest risk in your view?
I think it depends on the property. And it depends on the industry, the property. With a little more context, you're gonna have a different kind of scenario, I think, for a small residential building versus a government defense building, for example, right? So you're gonna be in a different levels for different types of businesses and industries. The tenant data is private data and you're entrusted with it. That's very important that it's protected, not stolen. That's a big thing, especially financial data as well. And then the IoT devices, where are those? And are they located in the right places? Are you getting the right data? Is it on? Like sometimes people have cameras, they don't even record or turn them on. Do you have backups? What happens if there's a fire? Do you store the backup somewhere? There's all kinds of things. And one of the recent files that we were working on, somebody actually hijacked the HVAC and they cranked the temperature in the building to 50 degrees in order to cause damage and destruction. It was caught by their IT people and they were able to manage it and bring it under control, but it was direct sabotage. It was a disgruntled employee and so those things are starting to happen, and then there was another one where they had a data center and they had servers and they hijacked the servers in the building so that they could crypto mine. So they were siphoning off. Yeah, I know. They're very creative. So yeah, they're very creative in there. So
That's-
yeah, so there's things like that we have to look out for that we didn't have to do 10 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
so it's as creative as they get, we've got to be creative as well in our defenses.
That's right. It's creativity, a new kind of creativity.
That's exactly it.
um, and as AI gets baked into leasing, underwriting, property management, and analytics, what new risk should leaders prepare for?
The leakage of data. Like you don't want your data just uploaded in ChatGPT. So if you've got, because that's proprietary, your contracts are proprietary methodology, and that's a lot of business know-how that has taken some companies decades to perfect. So you don't want just to upload that and have ChatGPT take that into its memory and learn from that. So a lot of people have banned ChatGPT in the workplace specifically until they can figure out internal guardrails. So, what is an acceptable use and what isn't, and who gets to use it and how and why? Because people are people, we make mistakes. We're humans, we don't know, we're playing around with stuff, and we upload a spreadsheet or we upload financials and we shouldn't have. And, it's like, oops, what happens if we do this? Oops, and so I think we just need to understand more. Everybody needs to understand what the technology can do, what the impact is, what the benefit is, and then what are the possible risks and what are the behavior modifications that we need to make in order to use this. And I think the people part isn't really quite finished yet. We've got the technology, but people are in the exploratory phase. And, from the board down, there needs to be some guardrails like this is an acceptable use case. These are acceptable use cases and these aren't. And then you need the HR component to sort of say, if you violate these behaviors or you violate these policies, because now we have to write new policies into place, like 20 years ago, we didn't have a social media policy because we didn't have social media. So, here's the same thing, only slightly different. So how are we going to use it? What's acceptable? What's our risk level? And then what are we going to do about it if they breach? So, all of those pieces have to be in from a leadership perspective to ensure the safe adoption of any new technology. So it's not just AI, but AI is critically important to automation, but sometimes it's just process automation. There's no AI. It's just let's automate this process. So, people are all AI, and it's like, no, not quite. I'm glad you can
That's
spell it, but that's not how you use it. So you need to identify, how are we going to transform the business in a way that makes sense to drive profitability? You got to remember in an organization, a for-profit organization, your purpose is to drive value for your shareholders and maximize your profit. So you're increasing your revenues or you're decreasing your costs. and you're using AI for one of those areas in different ways. How can we capture more market share, or how can we reduce the time it makes to create our product or service? How do we drive profitability using this tool? Like any other tool, how do we use it in a collective way that drives maximum productivity throughout our workforce and for profit makes the most money? A different organization, a hospital, would be more based probably on productivity than generating revenues. Just different use cases, but I think the business case always has to be there. And we've got a lot of uber excited people going, "Ooh, this is so cool." And it's like, yeah, okay, but what's the business case for that? Because this is so cool, you can do at home. You can do that on your living room couch on a Saturday. That's the cool factor. That's fun. But at work, we're here to make productivity gains, or we're here to capture more market share. So there's a reason for why we're doing this, and we have to have a business case for it first.
Okay, now you're scaring me. And
I
I mean, how can I prevent ChatGPT to take my data?
don't give it to them. They can't take your data if you don't give it to them. So if you put into it, like, here's my name, my address, and my birthday, well, you just gave away your data. So don't do that. One of the fun things I did was I ran my name to see what was out there on the internet, because you don't know what's out there. It brought up a whole bunch of things, and I could check all of my social media and go, okay, yeah, that's all good. That's all solid. There's no weird things out there. But I don't know that a lot of people do. But I would just say, don't give ChatGPT data that you wouldn't want to see published on the first page of the Globe and Mail or the Financial Times. If you don't want it out there, don't put it in there. You have
Okay,
to
good
have some
advice.
responsibility for yourself. Like, you have to, people have to kind of think, like, that's not a good idea to put that in there. And it does forget, but does it forget forever? And where does it go, and who has access to it? So you don't put financial information into Chat GPT either. You don't put your bank account number, you don't put you don't do that. So, that's not a
Yeah,
smart thing.
yeah. No, this make no sense. If I was okay, okay, I understand. Then I'd like to go into the challenges. When you look at Amolite growth so far, what has been the hardest part to scale?
I think it's the finding the business case of the small and medium sized corporations, because they haven't quite adapted to the thinking that they need to hire external cybersecurity experts to level up their security. They still look at it like it's not that important. I don't believe that they're taking it seriously enough, especially in Canada. I think we're behind, in fact, quite a bit from the rest of the world. And that is a big concern for me, because I'm from here, and I think it needs to be invested in and taken seriously. And it just seems like there's not that shift isn't happening fast enough. It's not being invested in quickly enough. I would like to see us move faster towards the adoption of new technology that drives productivity, and with that reduces the risk. So in our own general trading area, I want us to catch up to the rest of the world, because I think we're quite vulnerable, and it doesn't need to be that way. Just doing the basics goes a long way. You just want your place to be as fortified or more fortified than your neighbors. You don't leave your door open in a seedy neighborhood and expect not to get robbed. It's kind of the same thing. You've got to put some certain safeguards in place, and you have to have some minimal, and it requires technical skill. So it's not your son's buddy that you play PlayStation with is your cyber guy. Like, that's just not. You have to have, these are very technical PhDs, masters, technical people that are paid technical salaries like engineers. You just have to wrap your head around that. It's not free, it's not cheap, and it shouldn't be. And I think the business people need to wrap their heads around that and say, yeah, we need this, and we need to pay our people, and they need to be paid market prices, and we need to make sure that our businesses data, our IP is protected, our customer data is protected, and it's a priority. And I just don't want to have to explain why anymore they should have cybersecurity. They should already know that. Like in the States, you go to the States, it's how much, how fast, let's get it done. Here's your PO and let's get to work. Completely different attitude. In Canada, it's like, oh well. And it's getting better, but it needs to move a lot faster. And I think that there's a lot of growth that can happen in this sector in a good way. And so I think it's an evolving type of industry, and I think it's just people have to get used to it, and they need to move faster and just, you know, yeah, we need to invest in this. We need to get this done. Let's just do it and get it done, and then we move on. Because everybody has to have and share in the same level of expense. It's not you're getting one up on another guy by not spending the money. That's not the right way to think about that.
Yeah, let's pass the word. Hopefully, this podcast will be viewed enough for making people recognize in Canada that cybersecurity is very, very important. But you work with organizations across several industries. What is one recurring pain points you hear from your clients?
They try and do it themselves and they can't. And, they can't. It's kind of, sometimes you have to hire an expert. So they've tried to do it themselves. They end up in trouble. They end up getting ransomware, or they end up losing a lot of data. And then they kind of come back a little bit sheepish, and like we don't judge. It's like just like hire the experts and let us do it. I don't care. They're also embarrassed, some of them, and I'm talking small and medium businesses here. I'm not talking the large critical infrastructure businesses because they're in a different category. But the small and medium sized businesses, they're kind of embarrassed that they don't have anything in place, so they don't want to show that they don't have it, or they tried to do it themselves and failed, or they hired the wrong person and failed. And we see it all the time. And it's just like, don't even worry about that. Like, just let us come in and help you. We don't care where you are. We just care that you're starting. So, just like, don't be embarrassed. Let's just get in there and get to work. And I think when they overcome that and they realize, okay, I don't need to feel ashamed. It's like, no, you don't. Like, just let's get going. So just admit that, you're not an expert in this field and hire an expert to help you out. That's what experts do. You hire lawyers, you hire accountants, you hire professionals in different fields to help you. So hire security professionals to help you and let's get going. That's the biggest thing, I think.
No, definitely. And what frustrates you right now in the cybersecurity market?
What frustrates me is the lack of investment for seed funding for technology builds, for Canadian technology builds. You can't get seed funding anywhere. And especially in Western Canada, when most of the security focus is in Ottawa and on the other side of the country, we have a big, big need for the development of more technologies, especially as we modernize our northern border. So we've got really, really smart people here, and they need money to build. And no one's building it off their back shelf in the garage. No one's building it in a basement hoping that someone will buy it. That doesn't happen. This is highly technical, very advanced, needs to be funded, and needs to be funded early, like pre-seed and seed stage. And we have a big problem with that here. Funding is just not there. So we're not building. People think you're going to mortgage your house for it. Well, no, you're not. Most of the people that can do it are not going to take that kind of a risk. And the technologies that should be built and could be built in Canada aren't. And then we're forced to buy from other countries. And I think that's a big security issue for us. We should have Canadian made security tech, and it should be very easy to get grants, and should be very easy to get seed capital. That should be a no-brainer. It should just be quick and easy. It's always about accountability for grants for taxpayers. Build the accountability into it. Nobody's trying to shirk accountability, but you have to create a macro environment for business in order to have business. So you need to showcase that, people want to dedicate their life to building technology. You need to showcase that there's support, and you're going to be profitable. You're going to be able to have a nice life like everybody else does that's an employee. You have to have those environment conditions in place for profitability. And I think we're lacking that in the security space, especially in Western Canada. So I would like to see that opened up a bit more, and I would like to see more grants available. And in the event that Canada can't do it, then some more collaboration with the international countries like we did with NATO. I mean, it was fantastic. We collaborated very seamlessly and effectively. And a lot of countries said, wow, we didn't realize so much talent is in Western Canada. And we have a lot of AI talent and a lot of highly specialized folks here that would love to solve hard problems, but we need money to do it.
That's so right. Yeah, you have earned several recognition, including Woman of the Year from UCT. What leadership lesson stays with you as you guide Amolai through growth?
Well, the Woman of the Year award was very special to me because when, like 20 years ago, we brought women in communication and technologies to Alberta as part of a networking group when I first got out of university. And we were all young and ambitious, and, we were all going to save the world, change the world, dominate the world, whatever our dreams were. We formed a networking group, and we had WCT Toronto kind of help us set up an Alberta chapter. And we would have networking events, and we would get sponsors and panelists and speakers, and it really shaped the way that we grew professionally. And so we kind of all grew up together. Everybody kind of went their own different ways, and people had different career paths, and some were more successful than others, and others chose different paths altogether. Those friendships and the professionalism that we learned in those early formative years stayed with me throughout my whole career. And just showcase what strength women bring to the table, and women supporting women, how we can all support each other together in different ways. And it's not just about the best job and the highest paid. It's about families, it's about community, it's about nurturing and raising the next generation. So there's a lot more to it. So when I won the Woman of the Year, it was like coming home. And it was very, very special to me. And it was, as I was standing on the podium giving my acceptance speech, I saw the girls in the back corner, and they had organized the whole event. And I remember those days because we organized events like that too, and the volunteers and the ones that do all the work don't get a lot of recognition. And so, I said, I was you 20 years ago. So, this is what a lifetime does. And it was full of a room full of very prominent business leaders, and a beautiful hotel and a beautiful ballroom, and everybody was all dressed up, and they all looked great. And it just made me really proud. I felt really grateful and really proud that, something so small with just a few people hanging out could turn into something so big. And so that was a very special award, and that group is near and dear to my heart. So it was really, really fun. And I've stayed friends, and we've got connections here in Calgary, and it's just one of those really nice organizations that you want to support.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And bravo, congratulations. You are working at the edge of innovation. How do you balance long-term vision with the execution pressure of running a company daily?
Yeah, that's a good question, because your priorities shift with age. And so sometimes you have wisdom, sometimes you don't. But you have to execute, and you have to be at the speed of business, and you have to be at the speed of technology. So you have to be on all the time. Long-term vision, is there going to be a transition? So I would like to have somebody replace me. So I would like to work myself out of a job, very much so. And that's what I continue to push for, so that I don't have to do the day to day anymore. Then somebody else can do it. So getting the company to the point where it can just be handed off to another senior president or CEO, and have them continue on with the work that we're doing, I think is probably the logical next step. And then for me personally, I serve on a number of boards, and so those board projects are very important. And just finished serving the University of Calgary Board of Governors on the audit committee, and that was very, very rewarding, very highly specialized work, and I really enjoyed that. So I'll be continuing on the board roles of other companies. So I'm kind of in transition, and I'm balancing that. So Where's that day to day? And then as I evolve into my career into the next sphere, I'll be much more on a higher leadership level than I am with a small, medium-sized business. So my skill set will go into a different area of expertise. I think that's where I'm seeing myself personally go.
Yeah. Wow, that's wonderful. Okay, let's zoom out. I want to zoom out a bit. Where do you see cybersecurity heading in the next 3 to 5 years? I mean, this is a stupid question, I guess. Everybody should have a firewall. um,
Yeah, I think it's gonna though, I think that will become a normalized thing, a normalized part of business. The regulators will figure out what they want to regulate. The legislation will get passed. There'll be a standard. There'll be less uncertainty from a business perspective on what needs to be done, what investments need to be had. There'll be, I think, we'll be leveling up in terms of our capacity and our capabilities to make good business decisions. That has to catch up. So I think we're doing that now. So I think we'll be much better than we are 3 to 5 years. The technology is going to continue to evolve. Always. It's going to continue to go. So we have to speed things up a bit there. And then we got to monitor what the adversaries are doing. Like you look at China and Russia, and they're good. I mean, they start their kids young hacking. Like it's not going to go away. Geopolitical pressures are not going to go away, and they're not going to go away on our organizations. In fact, it's actually going to get worse. So we have to get better. It's just not an option. So we have to accept that we have to get better, get over the denial, get to work, get things, better secured, understanding that our people aren't waiting for rules. They don't play by the rules. They're the bad guys. They don't have rules. If you're vulnerable, they're going after it. And so we have to keep up with regulation and policies at the speed of criminals, and we're not doing it. So, we need to pick it up. We also need to invest more at the national security level, law enforcement, and this is all countries, all over, all militaries. There is no one perfect example of 100% secure anything. Where there's a will, there's a ways. Um, on a small and medium-sized business level, we're going to advance our knowledge. On an enterprise and critical infrastructure level, we're going to learn a lot faster because it's a lot more critical. So I wish I could say that all the bad guys were going to go away and find something else to do with their time. That's not going to happen. So it'll get worse, and it's just going to be up to us to do better. And I think we will.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't want to be out of business, so you need bad guys.
Yeah.
If we say it, okay, then well, it's like this.
Yeah, it totally is.
But
It is.
and what about quantum readiness? Is something many companies don't even think about. A lot of companies are not even thinking about. What does quantum resilient business look like?
That'll boom. That's going to be a big growth because you have to identify all of your encryption, and then you're going to have to make it quantum resilient. So it's going to be game changing. And it needs to be on everybody's radar right now, at least to understand what it is that they're protecting, what the threat is, why it's important, and how fast it's moving so that they understand how quickly they need to react because everybody's going to have a quantum resilient plan in place. That's going to have to come, and it's just a monitoring of the different technologies and how fast. I mean, some people even say that there's already quantum computer and they're already like stealing now to decrypt later, and it's already happening. They're just not saying anything. Which, if you're a criminal, you wouldn't tell anybody that you have a quantum computer. Why would you do that? So there's the the capabilities that are public, and then there's capabilities that people don't know. So it has to be on people's radar. There's just no choice. And the business environment will grow according to that demand. So there'll be consulting, there'll be training, there'll be new technologies built, just like any. just like any new technology. So we're going to have both quantum and classical and a hybrid. So there'll be a hybrid between the two. And I'm excited to see what quantum does for the betterment of mankind. Quite excited, as opposed to always having to try to defend and protect what you've built.
What's your favorite way to explain quantum resilience in one sentence?
Oh, wow.
We can
Yeah, that
pass.
put me on the spot.
It's supposed to be a short question.
I know it, but that was a loaded question. It's like, like there's so much to it. I don't know how to put it in a sentence. I just think, quantum resilience provides you with an extra layer of confidence and security for your organization. You have to have it. Those two
Yeah,
sentences,
makes
but
sense.
that's the best
No,
I could
no.
do.
No, it was great. Take off the full point. Okay, then what's the hardest part of building Ammolite?
Hardest part. I'm impatient. So I want to see it grow faster than it is. It's like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And so kind of um, tempering my enthusiasm with reality. So I would like to see it grow faster, and I'd like to see the adoption go much quicker. So that's kind of frustrating for me because I can go faster. I want the world to go faster too.
Of course, I love it. Um, Cara, this was excellent. Your work at Amolai shows how advanced security can be built in a practical way for both defense and commercial markets. And thanks again for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. It was delightful. It was fun.
And where can the audience can find your work or reach you or your team?
Our website is ammolitesecurity.com. So they can go on our website, or they can email me or reach out on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was a great conversation, very insightful and tech for the lemon. I love it. Thank you very
It was
much.
great fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's it for today's episode of AI InterConnect. And if you enjoy it, share it with someone who is building the future, or better yet, someone who should be. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cara.
Thank you.